Josie. Okay. Hello guys, good morning. Our topic is interaction with language education theory. And well, basically we have four topics to explain. The first of all is learning strategies and self-regulation. First, first of all, we have to say that in these topics, we are going to explain three different kinds of learning, and I'm going to explain them a little bit. So, the first one is learning strategy, and those strategies are individual way of organization and using a particular set of skills in order to learn complex content and accomplish other tasks more effectively and school as well using these kind of strategies. The next one is learning training, and it's basically involves helping learners find out the way how to learn most effectively, and it means encourage learners to take responsibility for learning and helping them to develop learning strategies and study skills. Most importantly, it asks learners to reflect on how they are learning. And the last one is learning development, that is, it describes work with the students and staff to develop academic practices with a main focus on students developing academic practices in higher education, which access the process of knowledge acquired by the means of structural approaches. With having that in mind, we are going to start with the little context, and we have to say that learning strategies, training and learning development are totally related, everyone each other. In particular, learning strategy is related with autonomy. In 90s, 80s, European writers started to begin to incorporate the insights of the the learning strategies to their rights, and writers start to learning strategies to start to find out the ways of autonomy. In 1990s, the autonomy and learning strategies were really closer to, and allied each other with, regarding to language education concepts. It is more like involve autonomy with language learnings, and then the learning strategies. It was a theory that says that. It was a theory that says that there was a strategy to learn easier the language, that it was a strategy of control. It says that it was a kind of process that you can follow to learn better. And the strategy has active planning, monitoring, and evaluation. And those are the processes. The language learning, where is I think it is not here, but in 1990s it started to think, the people start to think that the learning researchers are connected or linked with educational psychology and learning strategies. more versatile concepts as self-regulation, learner self-management, and learner beliefs. And the last one, the most important theory, and it's the Cohen strategy, and the learners. Well, his conception of regulation is really good for understand. For well, the conception is basically the degree to which individuals are active participants in their own learning. It means that you have to take your own decision to learn what you want. And it comes really closer to learning strategies and concept of autonomy. Who's next?
Well, I'm going to talk about motivation. So, at this point, I'll talk about the motivation and its relation with autonomy. Motivation is conditional upon learning, taking responsibility for their own learning. So, take into account giving people extrinsic rewards for already intrinsically motivate behavior can undermine autonomy. So, as behavior becomes increasingly controlled by external rewards, people began to feel less in control on their own learning or on their own behavior. Therefore, intrinsic motivation is diminished. As a summary, when an individual is driven by autonomous motivation, they may feel self-direct and autonomous. But when the individual is driven by controlled motivation, they may feel pressure to behave in a certain way, and thus experience little known to autonomy. So, as I told you before, extractive rewards do that an individual may feel self-directed or may feel pressure. So the idea is taking into account and thinking about intrinsic motivation. And it's defined that the doing of an activity for its inherent satisfaction rather than for some separable consequences. As an individual is moved to act for fun or for satisfaction of your own of his or her learning.
Okay, the other topic is individual difference and social cultural approaches. Okay, in the 1980s and 1980s, advocates of autonomy were paid to the distance themselves from the idea that autonomy implies individuals or learning isolation. So, there are some indications of a renewed focus on the individual in more on autonomy. Influenced by the resurgence of interest on individual difference. There is a clear conceptual link between autonomy and individual difference. So, autonomy responds to the fact that individuals learn difference from each other and may seek to develop their individuality through divergence and learning process. And individual difference often work with sorry, of sociological and social variables, such as age, gender, class, social class, effect, attitude, and cognitive style.
So about the Oxford model of learning autonomy, this part is in all perspectives, but this part is in all four perspectives. Those are the sociocultural, this focuses on the learning, the technical, this focuses on disciplines, on learning management, psychological, it focuses in cognitive processes, and the political critical is focusing in theory and learning content.
Okay, sorry, in this part, and in this part, help us to understand how psychological and social factors may influence learning process and outcomes. According to Hay and Nor in 2003, agency and identify are the case linking concepts between social cultural theory and theory autonomy. So, agency can perhaps be viewed as a point of origin for the development of autonomy, while identify might be viewed as one of its more important outcomes.
Okay, we are going to talk about teacher development. So, what is teacher development? Also determine teacher autonomy. It can refer to different concepts of the context. So the first is in general educational context. It refers to teacher freedom at the time of implementing of the curriculum.
And then we have another definition which would apply specifically to learning languages, which would be as a specific attribute for a teacher development. And then we have two different ways to express the learner autonomy and the teacher autonomy, which seem to be linked. First of all, we have the learner autonomy as a capacity, freedom, or responsibility for the learner or the student to make choices or decisions concerning their own learning process. And that would apply the same way for the teacher autonomy.
Okay, the next is teacher autonomy is also considered as a reflecting self-directed professional development, teacher research, reflective practice, action research in teacher development.
It is worth to mention that it is considered good or successful for a teacher to be involved in any sort of initiative to take the class, the learning process out of the classroom, or just make the learning process something more than writing, reading, speaking, or listening when directly related to the language learning processes. And also, we must say that these previous meaning for teacher learner autonomy sometimes are said to be wrong, since for the teacher autonomy it is meant that they do not reflect, I mean their own autonomy does not reflect on the autonomy development for the student, since it would be just taking decisions as a teacher but not reflecting directly on the student. However, I would like to say that the widest idea that implies teacher autonomy has been explained by Johnson in 2006, which basically says that as the need of education to have transformative intellectuals that can research and adapt the appropriate context to provide the best and most equal opportunities to learn for their students. And that should be like our focus or our first goals as learning